Now, for those of you who are unaware, and believe me when I say that a lot of people are, the Webster dictionary, especially the online variant, is becoming a political weapon at the hands of the people that get to make these decisions. So a very small fringe minority of people that found themselves in the position of power and privilege are constantly changing words in order to fit various political controversies of the day. I personally realized this during the Amy Coney Barrett hearings, where she said the word sexual preference. Now, up until that point, no one had a problem with the expression sexual preference. However, it was decreed that it is a problematic saying. It's actually a hateful saying because people do not have a sexual preference. They have a sexual orientation. And this is due to the fact that people do not get to choose what they like. Which was very bizarre, but Webster Dictionary immediately added that into the definition a couple of hours after the controversy. And of course, there was no debate, there was no discussion. It doesn't matter how many people agree or disagree with the fact that sexual preference is a hateful expression. I mean, the people that control the website of Webster demanded that, well, this is how things are from now on, and they shaped reality. In my opinion, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, people don't get to choose their preferences either. If you prefer vanilla ice cream, you can't change that preference. If you prefer women with big breasts, you can't change that preference. Now, people who end up in prison and they are straight, I mean, they prefer straight women, and because they're in prison, they have gay sex because they can't find a woman. You know, like, it shows that they prefer women, but due to the circumstances, right? I mean, to me, that makes more sense than sexual orientation, because a person genuinely chooses how to orient themselves. Like the Muslim orients himself towards Mecca. It's a choice. He chooses to orient. So, you know, it doesn't matter because the dictionary now decreed. And, you know, like language is constantly evolving. And I'm pretty sure this is how words have naturally evolved over time, with the people in charge of the dictionary evolving the words for the rest of humanity. But it is what it is. I personally think that words are a tool, because at the end of the day, the purpose of conversation is to get what's in my head in your head, right? So I want to express what I'm thinking in a way that you can understand and internalize it. So words are like tools. Now, of course, as time moves on, the tools that are useful, they get to be used, and the tools that are needed, like if you need a new tool, then a new tool is created. That's pretty much how words evolved. It's not like, well, the tool makers have now decided that everyone has to use a spork for everything. That's not how it works, right? Like the way it normally works is like, if the spork was so useful, people will just constantly buy it, and then the tool makers would be forced to produce more. So the recent controversy with Webster Dictionary is the fact that it changed the definition of the word woman, which used to be adult human female. It also tinkered with the definition of female. Now, if you don't know why this is so important, it's because the Supreme Court nominee, which the US president specifically picked because she was a black woman, when asked whether or not she can define what a woman is, she couldn't do it. The reason she couldn't do it is that the progressive ideology didn't evolve by having debates and trying to persuade people. It evolved using censorship. And by using censorship, it has created a house of cards that is so fragile to the point where they literally cannot define what a woman is. So the Webster Dictionary, I guess, gave it a crack at it, and they said that it's having a gender identity that is the opposite of male. And now you can see the problem, because on Twitter right now, left-leaning activists are livid. Because if it means that having an identity that is opposite of male, then you're talking about a binary. And secondly, you still haven't fixed the problem, because now you need to define what a male is. So you're back at square one. Like, you can't use a definition based on another definition which you can't define. It's absolutely childish and quite a clusterfuck. Now, of course, a lot of people are pointing out, well, hold on, like, gender and sex are different. And, like, really, this is the Moat and Bailey tactic that I have seen used constantly In other words, when challenged, they will always say, well, yeah, like biological sex and gender are two completely different things. But when you look at when they're not challenged and when they affect policy, like they want men and women to go into the same bathroom. They want men and women to be able to compete in the same sport. They want men and women to go to the same prisons. So this is a trick. It's a bait and switch. They pretend, oh yes, well obviously there's a difference. You know, like biological sex. No, that's different. No, we're talking about gender. And then when they get to write policy, they forget that difference. So it is obvious. Now, I have said plenty of times that this has been attempted throughout history several times during the French Revolution, where people were guillotined if they said Madame or Monsieur. They had to say citizen. During the Soviet Union, they replaced Mr. and Mrs. with Tavarish. And now I guess they're doing the same. They're trying to erase the concept of men and women. It's called gender abolition. Very interesting that we don't have a race abolition concept. That is interesting. Like, why can't we have race abolition? Why can't a black person identify as a Korean? In fact, there was such an individual, I believe, a white artist, tried to identify as a Korean, and of course the gender abolition activists, they were the most upset about this thing. Like they were, oh my god, like no, this is insulting. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Define race, you know, and it's also interesting because with ancestry, you can claim you can be whatever your ancestors were, right? I mean, but anyway, right. What I find interesting, it's not about the definition that was changed now. It's the fact that in the future, I am willing to bet that some people are going to end up with this predicament. They're going to have a conversation online, and they're going to be absolutely sure that they're right. But the other person is going to go, no, you're wrong. Look into the dictionary. Check it out. Google it. Look into the dictionary. So the person is going to Google it. It's going to look into the dictionary, and they're going to see, holy shit, I'm wrong. But that can't be. Like, you're absolutely certain that what you said is right. Like, you know that you're right. So you're going to go into your library. You're going to pull out that old dictionary that's made out of paper. And you're going to read it. Whether it's an encyclopedia or a dictionary, you're going to read it. And you're going to see that you are right. Because I noticed that as we transition to a more modern and electronic way of storing information, there are vulnerabilities from activists, from people that own these websites, to constantly change, update, patch. I mean, on the dictionary, you don't get to see when this was added. You don't get to see who added it. It's there. It's almost like it was always there. So that is a problem. Much worse than this nonsense. It's a big problem because very few people store their information on physical disks, on things that are tangible, on paper. Most people share their information on the cloud, which is exposed to being modified, and it is very concerning. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.